Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored, your favorite reality TV and interview podcast. It's your host, Leah, and today we're going to be diving into what might be the most disgusting, horrifying, traumatic documentary so far of 2025. Last year, Tell Them You Love Me was the most sickening documentary that I watched. This year, this is taking the cake. And if you don't know what documentary I'm talking about Unknown Number, the high school catfish documentary, which has been going absolutely viral across all platforms. I'm going to be recapping what happened in the documentary, things that shocked me, things that I still have questions about, things that I have concerns about, and just an overall theme of why this documentary should have never been made. And if made, it should have never included the mother, and she should have never had the opportunity or platform to say her side of the story. I'm going to be talking about all of these things. If you have not watched the documentary yet, spoilers ahead. Let's start with what this documentary is about. The documentary is about 13-year-old Lauren, who goes to Beale High School, a small town in Michigan where everybody knows everybody, and mostly all of the kids were friends. Until Lauren started receiving text messages when again, was 13 years old. So it must have been her freshman year of high school from an unknown number. In these text messages, it started out around the time that Lauren was supposed to go to a Halloween party. Excuse me, she was not invited to a Halloween party, but her boyfriend, the guy who she liked, who she shared a lot of common interest, in athletics in, Owen, he was going to go. And the problem was that this party was hosted by Chloe, the high school bully, the town bully, who also happened to like Owen. Now, at the time of the party, Lauren receives her first texts that said, "I'll be at the party. I'm DTF." And like any 13-year-old girl, she thought, obviously, going through the list of people in her head, who could this be? It might be Chloe. Although we never hear this, I can imagine that that was some of the conversations that were going on. Who's mean to me? Who likes Owen? Okay, this could be Chloe. And I think a lot of other people from the school thought it was Chloe as well, because, well, she didn't get the reputation for being a mean girl for nothing. As somebody who always talks about accountability and reserving the right to change my mind, and also saying that I will correct myself when I'm wrong, I want to talk about how I had a really bad take on this documentary. I watched it, which has now been 3 times. I watched this documentary the first time by skipping from the beginning to the end. Then I watched it again, trying to absorb all of the information. And then I watched it a third time after I posted a video with my thoughts on it, where I essentially said that I thought that Lauren may have been involved in some capacity in the text messages. What I did not make clear was that even if Lauren had ever been involved, if she came home and she had collaboratively thought of this idea with her mom to send herself a text, even if she had been involved, she is not responsible. She is a child. Okay. And I don't believe, even if she had been involved in the beginning, that she knew that her mom was texting her the entire time. I think that that was horrifying, confusing, shocking, and just so many layers. But I want to take accountability for the fact that I rightfully got called out for re-victimizing Lauren. And I rewatched the documentary, I re-reflected on things, I redirected some of the questions that I have. And I think that the conclusion that I've walked away with is, number one, it was never my place in the first place to have speculations around something that's involving a child. Okay, that's number one, which also backs the underlying theme of this video. Netflix should have never dropped this documentary. It's exploitative, it's salacious, it's told in a way that is supposed to be exploitative and salacious and grab headlines, and it's not told in a way that just fully unpacks the story, or even in a way that has enough care for Lauren, because Kendra should have never been involved. But what I think is, I think that Lauren came home, shared things with her mother about her days at school. And I think that Kendra got herself involved in Lauren's life. And I think that she essentially intervened without Lauren knowing and decided that, oh, if you're not invited to this party that Chloe is going to, mind you, she was the scorekeeper, she was the coach for multiple teams. She knew Chloe. If you're not invited, I'm going to send you a text message. And why I think it was the mom the entire time. I think that it was easy for her to make it seem like it was Chloe because she knew that Chloe was a mean girl. And I think that her mother had an unnatural, disgusting, predatory fixation on Owen, her boyfriend. And I think that she was elated to be involved in any capacity. And as much as I think that she was elated when Lauren and Owen eventually broke up, I simultaneously think that at the time she still wanted to have Owen around the house and she didn't want to sever that connection or having a reason to see them. We see her refusal to let go and just how the extent of her obsession when they break up later in this documentary, after this has gone on for months and months, and she continues to go to Owen's sporting events. Okay. So we see the level of obsession in her mother. And it seems like she is so sick and so disgusting that she enjoyed either, I don't even know if I believe that she was imagining herself as this 13 or 14-year-old that she was texting as. I think she enjoyed having the outlet or the opportunity and a reason to be in contact with these kids. That's what I think. I truly think that she's sick. So, as I said, the documentary starts out with Lauren receiving a text around Halloween when Chloe was having a party and she wasn't invited. Now, it should be said that Owen was like, if I'm going, you're going. But there was still some drama around that situation. The text messages stop for almost a year. It's 11 months since Lauren has received a text message. At least that's how it's laid out in the documentary. I may have misinterpreted that, but it sounds like there was an 11-month period where there was no text messages. After 11 months, she receives a text message: Owen loves me, and your ugly ass will be alone. At this point, she's also getting texts calling her by her nickname. Her name is Lauren. She goes by Lo, and her friends and family call her that. And she gets, bruh, Lo, stop calling. After she had tried to call this unknown number and figure out who was texting her. It's so insidious that the person texting her was in her house, right next to her, and using a separate phone. It's also like, okay, as stated, this is where I said and made things unclear. Even if Lauren, as a 13-year-old, came home and was like, told her mom the situation, even if she knew at the beginning or had played any hand, I think that at this point, she had absolutely no idea that her mother would be texting her. Okay. Or continuing this, because for what reason? Like, for what reason? Now, at this point, it's not just Lauren who's receiving text messages. Owen starts receiving text messages too, and the texts get even more stalkery because they know what Lauren is wearing. Obviously, in hindsight, we know that that's because it's her mother and she saw her leave the house that day. We also know in hindsight that she never left for work, never had any responsibilities or priorities. So she quite literally sat at home on that phone, as she said herself, for anywhere between 8+ hours a day, absolutely obsessed with this. But Owen starts getting text messages as well. And the daughter's texts are like anorexic ass or Owen gonna leave you. And it's just like so insidious, the text messages from the mom. Like reading them gives me the chills because she's just such a perverse woman on so many levels. And it just feels like she got off on doing this. Like it feels like she enjoyed this because Lauren comes home after getting text messages about her physical appearance and the insecurities that she was already having as a 13-year-old. Comments about her being too skinny that her mom knows were her insecurities. And her mom is reassuring her to not read into them, ignore them, don't worry. And this is where I think the narrative of it being Munchausen starts to come in for certain people. Although I am not a mental health professional, that is not what I think is going on. I do not think that her mom wanted to be important in her life. I don't think that she was trying to be the hero that comes in and makes Lauren feel better. And I certainly don't think that she was texting herself and talking about her own insecurities. I believe that she was weaponizing the private, confidential, personal, vulnerable information that her daughter was sharing with her. And then, like I said, weaponizing that against her. Some of the texts now start to read, bitch, fuck off, with the F was spelled FCK. You be ugliest skank. I ain't fucking playing FCKN. Owen and I down to suck finger F word. These alone, she should be locked up, still locked up in a database, shouldn't be allowed to be around schools, shouldn't be allowed to be around children. She should be in a padded wall. She should be in a cell. I mean, all of this is so sick. And then the texts go on to be even more vulgar. Mind you, she is sending this to her daughter. And I heard a mental health professional talk about how she's essentially saying, like, he's going to leave you for these things that you can't do. And just that added layer of how sick that is, that she's the adult in this situation and basically has experience with this because she's an adult and touting that experience, all of it is so predatory. It's disgusting. You are talking about a 13-year-old, a 13-year-old. Okay. Now, and sending this to your daughter, by the way, which could have caused so much self-hatred, which could have caused so much like seeking out risky behaviors, which could have caused her to try to do those things that you're talking about. It's just gross. So at this point, there's these texts, and I believe Owen is getting some of these texts as well. His D in fingers in my P word mouth. Okay. And Owen's parents start to take his phone in the evenings because he's so distraught by these text messages that he doesn't even want to go to school. Owen's texts at this point are getting, Owen, help us. You down for helping? He's getting 40 to 50 texts a day. And what's so disgusting is honestly, Owen's parents handled things horribly. First of all, if his mother and father are together, where was the father? Even if they aren't together, the responsibility that dad should feel to his child, where was the involvement? Also, not there was a point in the documentary where his mom said, Owen shouldn't have to get a new phone. Like, this should just stop. And she didn't get him a new phone number. She didn't get him a new phone. You could have taken precautions, or you could have taken measures that could have prevented the level of text and harassment that your son was facing and intervene in some way. And you didn't. And you didn't. That would be like a parent saying, I'm not gonna teach my kid internet safety. People just shouldn't be predators. No, like it's still your responsibility. It's still your responsibility to do something as the parent. Kendra is involved and best friends with Owen's mother, which is another sickening layer because she's essentially with the parents, acting like she is just as engaged as Owen's mother, Jill, in trying to figure out who this is when it's her the entire time, going to school with Owen's parents, okay, to find out who is doing this, to try to have the school involved, to try to have the parents involved further, to try to get in the bottom of this. I lost my train of thought, sorry. But I wish the documentary had really dived into some timestamps. And I hope that if this story is going to be told, I hope it's told well, because I would bet my bottom dollar that the only time that Kendra stopped sending those text messages was when she left that house to go into the school. Guarantee you that that was one of the only times that they stopped while she was in conversation. And it would have been interesting to see that corroborated with the video of her in the office at the school and with the absence of text messages, followed by the subsequent increase in text messages again as soon as she just happened to leave. That would have been interesting information. But Kendra acting like she has a vested interest to find out what's happening when what she's really doing is monitoring the situation. She's seeing what the parents think, what Owen's parents think, make sure that they're not suspicious of her in any capacity. She's at the school so that she's probably able to add things to her messages and make it sound like it's the other kids just generally see things quickly in the hallway, but also to keep up with what do the teachers know? What are they saying to police? We find out later in the documentary from the police that she was extremely interested in the progress of the investigation, which, okay, as a parent would typically be normal. But because of the situation, we know that she was really just interested in seeing how close they were to figuring out that it was her, which brings me to why did it take so long, even though it was through Pinger? The FBI came in one day and said, fuck this small town investigation. Who is it? Who is it? And was able to figure it out. Adding on, okay? This is a small town in Michigan in the Midwest. I'm assuming pretty conservative, right? Think about all the tax dollars that Kendra just wasted. Aren't you guys pissed? Aren't you guys pissed? Don't you guys not take too kindly to predators? Like I hope the one thing about Kendra platforming herself and getting this notoriety, I hope you never, ever, ever live a normal life again. And you shan't, and you shall not. And if you were compensated, gonna have to use all of that on security, okay? Because I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine. And the audacity of this mom, this entire documentary, she goes into the school and she has the audacity to say on camera in her confessional, mind you, we know it's you. We know it's you. If anybody's done any reading, I don't think the school handled things well. You didn't handle things well. It's so infuriating. This actually might just be called like the most infuriating documentary of 2025. Some of the text messages I have written out just randomly in my notes because I just think that they're so disgusting and not enough people are talking about them. So unfortunately, I'm going to be talking about them. She then texts her daughter and says, "You dressed like an effing slut trying to get his attention. Fuck off." She's saying that to her daughter and how she was trying to get Owen's attention, her 13-year-old daughter. And this is where you can also tell that she's a predator because she's jealous of her daughter. She's jealous of her daughter and she wants to be with Owen. And that is sickening. That is sickening. And I said this on my TikTok, the one where I corrected myself, my second one that's still up. Where was the dad? I understand that Kendra told a lot of lies to him that he's impacted as well. And I understand that in some sense, he's a victim of his wife as well. But the absence, where were you to question your wife? Like, it's just okay. I don't believe that Kendra was able to fake going to work as well as she was. Okay. I don't believe that she seems like a trusting enough person when she's described as being an attention seeker. When we see the hundreds plus bottles of liquor on her dining room table that's never explained or talked about, I don't think she seems trustworthy. And I have a very hard time believing that the dad didn't know that there was something off with his wife, but because Kendra just wasn't approaching that conversation first, and because he didn't see anything that just popped right into his lap, I think that he was being avoidant. And I think that he was leaning into delusion. And I think that it was easier for him to just keep going to work. And while I understand that, your daughter suffered. Your daughter suffered because of that. Because I believe that if he had been around more or asked more questions, because again, Kendra doesn't seem like the most stable, reasonable person, much less why is it that he wasn't involved when he finds out that his daughter is being bullied, is being sexually harassed? You being a provider isn't a good enough reason to not be involved, because there are women who work 40 hours a week as well, are also working, and they are held responsible and feel the personal responsibility to check on their children. So him being outside isn't a good enough reason. He should have been in the driver's seat instead of a passive participant. And had he asked more questions, or had he even just taken a week off of work and just watched what was going on or involved himself further, I think that he would have discovered things sooner. It just seems like a lot of looking the other way from the dad. And again, while fair because he's working and doing all of these things, and also a victim of Kendra, looking the other way and being avoidant enabled your wife to hurt your daughter for longer. And I know my father would never do that to me. So I feel sad for Lauren because of both of her parents and how they let her down. Honestly, I feel sad for her for both of them. The sexual text messages that Lauren continues to receive from her mother persist when we're 13 months in. Lauren receives a text, he wants sex, BJ's, making out. He doesn't want you are, sorry, SRY, ass. Why would you tell your daughter this? Why are you having conversations about these things that are beyond your daughter? And that's what happens when a fucking old woman plays the role of a kid. And that's why you should be called what you are, a pedophile, a predator. It's just so disgusting. At this point, it's been 13 months of harassment in text messages, and Owen doesn't want you, and vulgar text to Owen. So Owen ends it with Lauren. Okay? He thought that that would make things worse. And instead, the text messages actually, I'm sorry, he thought that that would make things better, and that if the texter got what they wanted, that they would leave them alone. And that's not what happened, because instead, that's when Lauren started to get texts telling her to unalive herself. Again, this is from her mother. I've seen a lot of theories online as far as why the mom would tell her daughter this. Some people think that maybe the mom actually wanted her daughter to do this so that she would be out of the way, and had this delusion perception that she could actually be with 13 or now 14-year-old Owen when she absolutely would never be. Some people don't know if the mother was now mad at Lauren because despite being in their relationship and causing tension between Owen, now she has no reason to see them. I personally think that it's just I think it's just so sick for her to do that I can't come up with any logic. I think she's in a category of her own, and I think that she's disgusting. I would be interested to hear mental health professionals' opinions. So if you have any people that you're watching on YouTube or podcast, please put them in the comments. After 15 months, an entire year and some change, a police officer, Officer Maine, gets involved. And early on, his thought was that it had to be a group of students. And I don't necessarily blame him for thinking that. He thought it was a group of students that was very tight together, that wouldn't have told on each other, that would have had this sort of pact that they would never spill. And I get why he thought that. Simultaneously, some people were watching, and I saw some people thought it was apparent from very early on. If I watched this without knowing it was the mom, I don't think I would have been one of those people. Now, as I stated, it's about 15 months in, and Officer Maine is involved. One day, after Lauren's basketball game, she gets a text from this unknown number. But the unknown number is now moving a little differently and had been. They were sending photos of Chloe and Owen together to Owen. This time, this person who sends the text says, I had 12 points today, and made fun of Lauren for how she performed in the basketball game. Well, as I mentioned earlier, because Lauren's mom was the scorekeeper and also their middle school basketball coach, she had access to that information. And who had 12 points? Chloe, the girl that she was trying to blame this on the entire time. And I think that I think it's so hard to even remotely put myself into Kendra's mindset, and I wouldn't want to, that when I initially watched this is part of the reason why I thought that maybe Lauren was involved in some capacity, because this is just, it's childlike. It's childlike, right? Like, it's so blatantly obvious. You think that Chloe would out herself as the bully when this has been going on for months and months, and now the police officer is involved. But in retrospect, as stated, I think Kendra is a sick individual, and that's not a pass saying that there's a reason to pin this on. She's sick. She's deranged. She's an evil woman. That's what I think about Kendra. The one thing that Kendra wasn't wrong about is, I mean, in theory, she picked the right person to blame it on because Chloe was a mean girl. I absolutely don't doubt that at all. When they showed Adriana, justice for Adriana as well. That poor girl who was involved in this situation for no reason. And Chloe and her friend that they showed, them trying to make it sound like Adriana was the mean girl and like she actually had a clique that isolated them. Give me a break. That's what happens when you're raised by delusional parents like Chloe's or like that other girl's whose name I don't know. You don't know how stupid and unaware you sound when you talk. Now, at this point, Chloe gets pulled out of class by a police officer. Now, her dad is a police officer and encourages her to just have her phone dumped at this point. Okay. Chloe's like, it's not me. She goes home and tells her dad, and her dad's like, we're just going to have your phone dumped. This was after Jill, by the way, Owen's mother, tried to text Chloe pretending to be Owen and get her to confess. And again, like I said, the parents a lot of times were more of a detriment to their children than any sort of help, because what help would that be in this situation? Jill just change Owen's phone number. Like just change Owen's phone number. Now, but also before Chloe had her phone dumped, she goes on a trip to Florida for spring break. And the moment that she crossed state lines, both Lauren and Owen get a text from a Florida area code. Kendra's so stupid. Explain how that even makes sense. Do our phone numbers change when we go across state lines? Did Chloe go across to Florida and immediately have a family member call Lauren and Owen to bully them? She thought she was so smart, but at every turn, just idiotic. Just idiotic. Now, once Chloe comes out of the classroom after talking to police, Kendra sends a text again to try to make from the unknown number to try to make it sound like she's Chloe. Bitches, I talked police yesterday. They searched and copied it, found nothing, talking about her phone. Because, like I said, her dad was like, you're just going to dump your phone. Take your phone and dump it. That's the one piece of good advice that he gave. Because, yeah, look through your phone, look through everything, and see if anything is there. And they didn't find anything because, yes, Chloe is the high school bully, but she was not texting Lauren and obsessed with Owen and their relationship. I also just can't stand the way that Kendra was texting this entire documentary. Why is she texting with like a black scent or using AAVE? Like, it's Christmas Day and Lauren gets a text, bruh, low. We dig in his new black phone case. FR, for real. And that was part of it too. I was curious. It's at this point, if I had read any of these text messages, it's at this point my discernment would have went, this is not a kid. This is an adult trying to sound like a hip kid. Because what are these text messages? This was also really strange. And I feel like we never even got an answer for how Kendra received this text message. Maybe she was on Snapchat and followed all of the kids. But again, this is another example of just questions I'm left with after watching this. Now, another significant thing about Christmas, and forgive me, it's been 12 hours. I went to bed and I'm coming back into this recording. But I think where I left off was talking about Christmas. And I talked about the bruh low, we dig in his new black phone case for real text from Kendra. The significance of Christmas was Chloe was at Christmas as well. And she thought that it was her own cousin, Adriana, who was there at Christmas that took the picture and was setting her up, and that she must have been the one who was the unknown number the entire time. So Chloe, the mean girl, and her friends, the other mean girls, are now blaming Chloe's. Is it Chloe's cousin or Owen's cousin? I think it's actually Owen's cousin. Owen's cousin Adriana was there at his family's function. That's making more sense. Forgive me because this is also what I mean. It just, it might be my ADHD, so it might just be like a personal thing, but for me, I felt like the Netflix documentary was very hard to follow, and I felt like parts of it I had questions in my notes. Whose family was there? Chloe's family or Owen's family? Like things were just a little ambiguous. But because was Chloe even there? How did Chloe get involved in this? Was this Owen's family Christmas or was this Chloe's? Because now I'm confused. Nonetheless, Chloe blames this on her cousin Adriana, which is horrible when you see who Adriana is. Okay. Adriana's quiet. Adriana's shy. Adriana kind of kept to herself. She by no means was the bully that Chloe was. And Chloe was, in fact, the girl who was throwing carrots at her. And I do believe that they did that. Absolutely believe them. And I believe that Chloe's comeuppance is coming later in life dealing with somebody like herself. That's what I believe. And I feel like her parents have really set the stage for that. So going forward past Christmas, Owen, who has been broken up with Lauren now for some time, he starts talking to a girl from another city, and they're liking each other, they're interested in each other, and all of a sudden, the girl's mom, I think after their first date, gets a text from the unknown number. Kendra is psychotic. The text was threatening her. And so the girl was like, the first text was enough. I'm not dealing with this. You deal with it. I don't want to be in your life. The fact that Kendra tried to keep her, like split up her daughter to keep Owen away, split up this next relationship to keep Owen away. I just don't understand why she isn't being called the predator that she is. I don't understand. I know we didn't see all of the body cam surveillance footage, but I don't care about the dad's reaction to Kendra losing her job and not working. That's irrelevant to the story. Add that afterwards. Yes, I understand it's showing the extent of which she will lie, but I wanted to hear him be like, "You're disgusting. You're disgusting. You're a predator. You're interested in children, and you harassed our daughter and her friends and ruined her life for the last 2+ years." That's what I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see the reaction to finding out that the mother was sending the texts, not about her job. So at this point, like I said, they broke up, and the detective is still taking forever to realize that the texts are from Pinger. How many months has it been now? I mean, at least 13, right? I think that's the last month that we left off at. This has been longer than a year. As I'm glancing down in my notes, oh yeah, it's been a lot longer than 13 months. At 22 months, 22 months, okay? They serve a search warrant to look into the texts, okay? And as they do this, they uncover that the unknown number texts are being sent through an app called Pinger to skew the phone number. They also discover that there is only 2 phone numbers connected with the IP address sending these text messages that match any of the contacts that Owen or his mother have provided the police. Because what eventually ends up happening is Jill dumps her contacts, gives all of Owen's contacts, nothing, no matching IP addresses. So then, whether I think the FBI agent came in and solved this in a day. So I think the FBI agent was like, "What about adults? Who else do you have in your phone?" So she dumped her contacts. Lo and behold, Kendra's phone number comes up. Interesting. So 22 months in, search warrant for Kendra's devices, and they show up to the house, greeted by Kendra. I'm allowed to say that she's a hideous human being because she's so disgusting on the inside, and her soul is so disgusting that she's ugly. She's ugly. So she's out there looking ugly. The detectives roll up. She's like, everybody who said that she looks like Quasimodo, again, typically I would say this is horrible. Quasi's outside, greets the detective. She left the bell tower to wreak havoc on her daughter's life for the last 2+ years. Kendra tries to be slick. Officers show up where we have a search warrant because you're matching some weird shit, basically. They don't even say all that, though. Kendra's like, okay. And they come inside. Kendra, they tell her, we see her reaction and her slow realization that they know that she's been sending the text messages. What she says is that it didn't start out that way, though. It didn't start out with her. She also leaves things ambiguous, as the detectives are saying. Did you try to do this because was there a problem with Lauren and Owen? Was he being mean to her? And she really can't even answer that and say yes. and Lauren's not in the room. I actually did appreciate the fact, let me relook at things. I appreciate the fact that we don't have to see Lauren's real-time reaction to that, because I think it would be exploitative and she's a child. But as far as the dad, I wish that Lauren had been instructed to leave the room, or at least had somebody pointed out a social worker should have been involved in this situation. Yes, to split up Lauren from her mother, to provide some support for the mom and dad. As much as I think that the dad was an absent parent and should have asked more questions and should have played a more equal role in looking into things, again, I can admit that he is also a victim in this situation, and needed some support to process this. I also want to say that as much as I criticize the dad, and I think that those criticisms are valid, they won't be changing. I appreciate the fact that he got her the fuck out of that house immediately. My question is, why did it take so long? Because as they're here with this search warrant, like I mentioned earlier in this episode, there were at least 100 bottles of liquor on Kendra's dining room table, just right behind her, and there's no mention of it. You having a party? Did you have a party? What's been going on here? Are you drinking? Kendra, to me, seems like she stayed at home all day drinking. That's what it seems like to me. But again, she told the police, I have it in quotes, messages didn't start with me. That was random or whatever. Okay. Dad comes home, is like, hey, do you have her? Did you know that she has a second phone? And they're like, no, we didn't. So they proceed to go get her phone, which she tried to be slick and hide from them when they first go there. Did the dad know? I don't think so. Did Lauren know? I don't think so. Should the dad be held responsible for being so aloof in this situation? Yes. The vested interest, the reason to be interested is the fact that this is your daughter. I had somebody in my TikTok comments comment that that's a lot of fathers. A lot of fathers are absent. Okay. And I have a lot of criticisms for a lot of fathers then, I guess. Like that doesn't let them off the hook. In fact, that puts them more on the hook. And the thing is that outside of Kendra being a sociopath, women do have the pressure to be all involved in their children's lives. Be finishing your work, be all involved in the housework, while simultaneously be on top of everything in your children's lives. And because his wife is clearly unwell and was clearly untrustworthy, and clearly had some reasons to ask some questions, he should have played a larger role in that. That's what I think. I don't think that he should have just been like, well, if there's not a huge issue, then I'm just going to let Kendra be weird Kendra. No. Okay. No. Kendra's interviewed, and this is where she says,
I honestly think that getting a DUI and getting caught for it is exactly where I am right now, and people lose sight of it.
it's absolutely not where you are. First of all, yes, you shouldn't drive under the influence. You shouldn't drive drunk. You're a danger to yourself. You're a danger to others. Okay? Get a designated driver. However, if somebody drives drunk, that's still different than the 22 plus months of intentional all day text messages, your proclivity, your disease, Kendra. Kendra, you're a disease. Truly, you're a disease. You should never be around children. You had a daughter. You were not a mother to her. You were not a mother to her. And I don't care about Kendra's trauma. She is a dangerous white woman attempting to use her trauma as an excuse to traumatize others. And that's disgusting. Your refusal to stop the cycle and go to therapy, your daughter and other children are paying the price. And I don't even like Chloe. Like I said, someday she'll deal with a bully that's her own age someday. She'll deal with a version of herself, or hopefully she'll make a lot of changes to herself. But even Chloe, the bully, who I believe was bullied by all of those other kids, even Kendra's obsession with Chloe is odd. That was odd. She was her middle school basketball coach. Like, I can't even really imagine that. I wasn't a mean kid, but I cannot even imagine my middle school basketball coach finding out later that she was bullying me in high school. And not only that, but posing as me. And that's not even to say that I feel bad for Chloe. It's sick. It's deranged. This woman was obsessed with children. She was obsessed with children. It's very weird. It's very weird. Okay. So, Kendra, no, it's absolutely not the same. It's disgusting that she was able to sit there and say that. Yes, I understand. They want to make a salacious documentary. They want to make a documentary, whether it's rage bait, whether it's to just show how crazy Kendra is, whether it's to show that she still thinks that she did nothing wrong. I ultimately think it's harmful to have her in there at all. It's harmful to have her in there because she shouldn't be able to tell her side of the story. It's harmful to have her in there because she shouldn't have a platform. It's harmful to have her in there because was she compensated, and are these people compensated, these horrible people, for telling their stories? That's why it's harmful. But like in some effect, as I stated, I think earlier in the podcast as well, if the one thing that comes from this is Kendra will never live a life of anonymity and she can't go to the supermarket without people saying stuff to her, that's what she deserves. As Kim Kardashian said, it's what he deserves. Okay? That's what she deserves. The other part that I hated from the production side is, again, I understand that they are trying to give Kendra an opportunity to tell on herself. I still think it's irresponsible by feeding her the question. So do you think that maybe the texts to Lauren were more like text to yourself? And she's like,
Yeah, I do think that because I hadn't been eating, which is, what some would say is anorexic.
and then she proceeds to say all of these things. Don't give her anything. Don't give her any excuses to use. Don't help her out at all. Don't. Why? I just found that very uncomfortable. I don't know why they allowed that. That's clearly not what was happening. She was clearly exploiting her daughter's insecurities. And quite frankly, Kendra, your insecurities both have no place in this and are irrelevant. Are irrelevant. The fact of the matter is it seems like you took matters into your own hands because you were obsessed with Owen. You wanted to be with him. I don't know if you were jealous of your daughter because she was having a life that you thought that you deserved. I think you're just too sick to even try to figure out what's going on. And I don't think you're afforded that. I think, Kendra, you are one of the worst mothers in the world. That's and to serve only 19 months. 19 months. 19 months for this. That's what some people serve for a bag of weed. A bag of weed. 19 months. That's it. So Owen's mom ends this documentary by saying that she thinks that Kendra was always obsessed with Owen, and as an adult woman, inappropriately wanted to be with Owen. And Owen confirmed that he also felt like Kendra was always attracted to him. She would do things like cut up his steak for him. This is where we found out that she would go to Owen's games even after him and Lauren had broken up, that she would send random texts to Owen, that she would try to do things to get his attention. Kendra's the type of mother who who we've seen episodes of on Law and Order SVU, where in a few years, if she was any older, this could have been a situation where she outright slept with their daughter's boyfriend, and then some sort of homicide involved. Genuinely, like, Kendra is disgusting. She's a pedophile. She's a bad mother. She's a bad wife. She's ugly. And hopefully she feels so embarrassed, not only by her physical outward appearance, but also by everything that she's done in her life, that she holes up and reads the Bible front to back to front for the next ending of her life, till the end of her life, because that's quite frankly what she and the woman from Tell Them You Love Me deserve. You guys deserve to live a life inside, recluse, hearing sounds of, what's that sound? Oh, honey, a rock just went through the window. That's what you deserve to hear for the rest of your life. Are they coming in? Theoretically. So this documentary absolutely sent me. Very hard to watch. I think that that's it for the documentaries for a while, right? No, I'm actually going down a documentary rabbit hole, but Netflix's documentary selection, I might watch one that I heard a friend, shout out to Janae if you're listening. I heard a friend reference called The Puppet Master. I don't believe I've seen it. I turned on a little bit of it while I was folding clothes last night, and it did, in fact, scare me. So I might put that on. And if I do, I may end up talking about it. I'm definitely going to be talking about Welcome to Plathville. I've been putting it off, just keeping it to myself. It was a show that I was, like I said, keeping for me, enjoying watching. But I'm going to talk about Welcome to Plathville because I've been dying to. And I'm going to be watching Weapons this evening. Today's September 9th. It came out last night at midnight. So technically this morning. I will be watching that and probably doing a review on it. And we have Real Housewives of Salt Lake City starting soon, a new season of Love is Blind coming soon. And I'm going to be sharing a post with you, probably over on my Instagram, with all of the shows that I'm planning on covering, even if I just watch the first episodes to see how they are. If I'm missing anything, if there's anything that you're excited to watch, put it below in the comments. I think my next video is going to be ending Beyond the Villa. I know that I'm late. But I had read false information online that we were supposed to have a reunion yesterday. Okay. Yesterday, 9 p.m. That was obviously wrong. So I was saving my review to do around the reunion time. There's no reunion. I'm sorry for being late, but alas, I would still like to talk about it, as well as just a little bit of an article that Janae did with a major publication. I hope that everybody has an amazing day. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, follow me over on Spotify, and stay tuned.